we've had multiple episode people because they just wouldn't stop talking.
Right.
But I think you're our first person that we've like invited back twice. Is that true?
I think so.
Yeah. So welcome back to the New World BrassCast there, Chris, where we're going to ask you the tough questions like, was Sugar Ray really bad, or was society not ready for it? And all of the following. Hey, but
Right.
the last time I saw you, you were in pretty high spirits.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Your band jumping. It's like you guys jumped conferences and then took away the national championship. Is kind of how it felt like. It was like, people call it an underdog story, but I don't think anybody who knows you or the band really thought about it that way.
Yeah. I mean, as you know, it's a lot of work and commitment, but it's a great group. The thing I love is it's our group. I mean, I think you guys understand that, right? In your places where you are, like, we are who we are, and we love that. Like, it's homegrown. And, we're together every week with the same people, and we just keep grinding away. And, our thing is always our internal expectations have to outweigh the external expectations. And that's something we live by and drives us. We want to be the best we can be. It's not about anybody else, and just enjoy doing it. We love making music together and encouraging other bands. Like, we want everybody to be great. We want to raise the bar in North America together, and push each other. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a fantastic piece of music to work on with Titans, and we're looking forward to other lives. That certainly presents some other challenges. It's a difficult piece of music for sure. So
yeah, and then after you get done waving your arms to it, you have to go talk to me.
That's right. That's right. It's a date. Let's do it.
And I do. Who is your? All right. So just who is your social media person? Like, who is that person who like runs all that stuff and does the memes?
That's David Cook, our flugel player.
Oh, it's David. Okay, so
yeah,
he 100% got baited. If he was curious, I 100% baited him.
Yeah,
I was like, I bet you if I mentioned it in the interview, I'll get mentioned on a meme, and I 100% did. Absolutely, 5D chess right there with your with David.
There you go.
We should mention that just in case anybody hasn't experienced the Five Lake memes. They are amazing.
They're probably the most stolen memes in classical music.
Yeah.
He's pretty proud of those. And there's a few guys in the band, few guys and girls in the band that send him stuff, as well. Like, hey, what do you think about this? And he's like, well, maybe I can use that another time. I have like 7 ready to go. He's all over it. Yeah, he really is.
Yeah. Man. And so, yeah, but that's not why we had you come here, though, to brag about your championship. But you're running an event again.
Yeah.
You weren't doing enough.
Right.
Directing the group and winning the championship. And I think you had like Salvation Army Conservatory stuff going on all summer. And now you're like, hey, let's do a whole, thing again.
Sure. Yeah. We're hosting the US Open Championships again in Michigan. It was a really good time last year. All the bands that attended really enjoyed themselves. The thing we liked, and it's a committee of us, it's not just the Five Lakes hosting it. It's, there's members of like 4 bands that have collaborated on hosting this as the Great Lakes Brass Band Association. So it's a collective effort. And the thing we really enjoyed as a committee was seeing all the interaction and camaraderie between the bands. It was really cool. Like the Buskers night on Friday was really good at the Graf Cat Brewery. And it just kind of loosened things up between everybody, and it's like, hey, we're all doing the same thing all year. Like, let's just have a good time, support each other, get to know some people that you might not have known before. And then the next day, things were a little more chill. Like, yes, you want to play the best. You want to, in the end of the day, you want to be getting awards and things. Of course, that's why you're there. There's nothing wrong with that. But I felt like it was a really good vibe between the bands, and even after that, like some of the interaction I've had with members in Dublin Silver Band or Weston, and Capital City and all these other groups, of course the kids in Oakland, because they're right 20 minutes away from us, so we're always sort of interacting with them anyway. But it's really, really good. And we've, like our band, we've built our relationship with Motor City Brass Band a lot over the last few years, which is cool. I mean, it helps when I'm in front of Five Lakes and my dad's in front of Motor City, but that's not the only reason. We've been real intentional with that. We rehearse in the same building. Like, we should be for each other all the time. And it's been amazing to see, particularly in this area, like, how all these bands have come together and really, really support each other. It's like, they're proud to be from the area. And there's such a cool thing in this little Midwest pocket here, in Michigan, Ohio, and you get Canada right there, and Indiana and Illinois. Like, it's all right here around the Great Lakes and stuff. And so, yeah, that'll be November 18th with the Buskers thing happening on the 17th. And our venues, again, GravCap Brewery for the Buskers, and the Clarkson Performing Arts Center at their high school, which is a great facility. I mean, you wouldn't think you're at a high school. It's one of those,
Right.
beautiful hall to play in. And they're excited. We had the booster club at the school take care of all the snacks and food and things like that. And they made a bit of money off the event, which they were happy about. And now that they did it last year, they came up with this whole plan of, we're going to do this, that, and that as well, because now we know how it goes, and coffee and donuts in the morning for everybody and that kind of stuff too. So it's, it's cool. And I guess that, like I said, that was the biggest thing I took from it, was how good the vibe was between all the groups, and there's no reason why it shouldn't be that way. You compete for one day a year, basically, against each other, or two if you do NABA and, things like that. But it's, at the most a few days a year, and even in that, you can cheer each other on and just hope your band does better. There's nothing wrong with that, so yeah, so we're excited about it. And it's always good, having done it once, to be able to come back, reevaluate. All right, what can we do a little better? Let's tweak this, let's tweak that. And yeah, so we're excited. Our adjudicators this year are Tom Daverin, Jamie Hood, and Tony Granados. Tony will be coming to do entertainment again. The other two will be judging the music and stuff. So we're excited about that as well.
By the way, audience, Tony's not here right now, and he's like, I'm going to stealthily come in when I can get in at like 10.
So everyone who listens to this podcast should let us
people
know.
Listening will have no idea. People seeing will just see a fourth block show up all of a sudden. There's no sneaky one. And then also, you mentioned his name as a judge, and then people are going to go, where is he, by the way? Yeah, no. Tony's running late, and it's his fault, and you all should let him have it for it.
That was on purpose. I wanted to shout him out,
By shout out, you mean throw under bus. Got it.
Oh, yeah. Where is Tony, by the way?
So, it's interesting, the whole, especially like the competition stuff, I think is in the DNA of brass band, just in general, just the way it is and it exists. But there's like, because Five Lakes Silver does something well, does not mean we don't do something. Like, my band doesn't do something well. And like, just because you're playing well doesn't impact how well we play. Like, it's so, like, I can't get behind the whole, like, people who like, don't want other bands to be good, because that means that we're not good. Like, it's a community thing. And especially, I think Mark said something at the closing award ceremony at NABA, Mark Taylor. Mm-hmm. He said something along the lines of like, it's such a weird thing. And I don't know, you guys in the Midwest, you guys have so many bands just kind of on top of each other or whatever. But like, there's some bands that go to NABA where the only time they've ever seen another brass band was that event. It's not a thing, and especially with how big our nation is, that when you go to things like NABA and of course, the US Open and any event, it's you're surrounded by people who are like-minded. and practice our stuff and understand those things. So it's fun. Though I think competition's involved in it too because community's involved in it.
Yeah.
Not just at the band level, but at the national level.
Sure. Yeah, and it's it's one of those things. Like I said, we, our goal is always to inspire others and to push other bands, and we want to be pushed ourselves. I mean, it's really cool the way the culture's been built in our group. I mean, the other week I was talking about the British Open coming up, in rehearsal, and they're playing that Sand and Stars, the Del Real piece, which is an incredible piece of music, and but just hearing over the course of 2 or 3 weeks, everyone in the band just chit-chatting about, like, in our band app and all that, little texts and things I saw about, okay, I'm gonna have the WOD play going at my house. Who wants to come over? And this and that. And then these guys are over here and these girls are here with these guys. And it was really, really cool. I had rehearsals and things. I had an event that day. So I was like, I don't want to talk to anyone. I'm going to watch it all when I get home, which I did. But it was just really cool that, like, I didn't have to force anybody or say, you really need to be paying attention to these bands. These are the best bands in the world there, at least some of them. And you should be listening to this. That's a big part of learning, and see how we stack up to those bands, right? Mm-hmm. What's similar? What's different? What do we like? What we're doing? What do we need to change, to make things, to get to that next level? But it was really cool seeing all these groups of people getting together and then texting about it and chatting about it for the next couple of weeks after the event. They're just so on fire for it, but listening to the other groups and being inspired and motivated, right? Hearing some of those bands, Foden's is doing, and Valage's performance was great, and Tredegar's always doing good stuff nowadays. And then, of course, you got, the staples and Dyke and Corey and Brigas and all that. And I was very impressed with Flowers. I thought they were fantastic. They were so exciting.
I agree.
And I felt like Flowers really bought in to the style of the piece. Like it felt to me like they got into the story, behind it. And I felt something, moving inside when I listened to that. And that's what we want. We want our emotions to be stirred, and we want to get excited. And, the piece itself checks all the boxes for me, just having listened to it so many times now. But I really enjoyed a lot of the performances, and, there's no bad bands, like there's nobody in that British Open that you go, they don't really belong, they all represent themselves really well and do it in their own way. And that's kind of the fun part about what we do, So, like, that's the thing here is I just, you look at all the bands, championship and first section and second and on down, and it's like, you just want everybody to sort of push and motivate each other, and collectively we take this to new heights in North America. We want to catch up to Europe.
Yeah, we did a watch party because the WOD Place subscription is elusive because it's in pounds and it scares people. So I'm the only one in my band who has a WOD Place subscription, and they're upping the price, but that's another complaint.
Right.
But it's only a complaint because now, like, what, 10 pounds is like $40. So,
right.
But yeah, we did a watch party. This has nothing to do with, like, the very brilliant statement that Chris just made. This is all tangential. But we have some, like, community cats, like guys who, like, played in college but weren't, like, music majors, kind of guys in our band. Every band has them. Dentists, but I play cornet on Tuesday kind of guys. And then, some of the college kids, younger people. And, like, they came over and they got to learn, like, how musicians react to things. And I think it's because we don't talk. Like, it's not like a really good football player. You're like, oh my God, that was a great pass. Like, you're shouting it, right? You're excited. But in band, you can't do that. You're not going like, oh, Cookie just played a really good flugel solo. Like, you're not, like, outwardly saying that because you have to keep listening. So we make the stank face, right? But it looks like we're disgusted with what's going on. But one of the best compliments you can get from another musician is somebody going, if they make that stank face, for me though, if it's really good, I'll start laughing. Like if, like, band just does a phenomenal crescendo and they just plow, I start giggling like it's Christmas. And
So you must have been rolling in laughher when you heard Gary Curtin play, because he was out of this world.
Oh my!
It's like a laughter, like how is this person doing that
Right.
well? That's that kind of laugh. I've done it. I've
Sure.
really, because you're just laughing because you're just like, this is just amazing. How is this possible?
It was really hard at NABA being on the other side of, because I was like right on the other side of that sound panel.
Mm-hmm.
Just like listening and waiting for everything. And the one specific, so Fountain City took their tube bells and put them like right near that door. And one of the I forget which piece it was. It was choice or test, but man, I think it was choice piece. But man, whoever was playing those things, I must have hit them with a sledgehammer, because like it was like I hear them in my nightmares still. Just ding, 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 ding. It was like I was like in the rafters of Notre Dame, and it was so hard for me not to like laugh because of what my experience was in there outwardly and just ruining that entire performance. And that was kind of like the problem with the whole crew that Pat put together for that, because we're all musicians, so we're all reacting at the same time in the same ways. And
I have to register. I'm going to register before we move on, because I sense you're going to move on, so I interrupted. Sorry. There's one more face. There's one more face that we make almost universally as musicians, and we haven't brought it up. It's the like curious dog head to the side when something's really out of tune.
Oh yeah.
You go.
Oh yeah.
I get the people's eyebrow. That's what I do. The
right.
solid.
Or like a really cool, interesting chord that takes a few seconds to like register what's going on, and you just go. It's the same. It's like the same face. It's like tilt the head to the side, and like the eyebrow goes up, and you go, "Arr?"
Right. That's true.
So what all events does the competition have again? I know obviously there's the bands playing their programs, and it's an entertainment contest, and then you said the busking thing. Is there any solo and ensemble or anything smaller like that?
No, I mean the buskers are the small ensembles on Friday night, and what we did last year was those groups play at the brewery every 15 minutes or so while everyone's sort of interacting, and then we have secret judges in there that nobody knows about, except one person knows, but we have someone not involved select local musicians to come judge, and then they give the order first, second, third to whoever's controlling the next day or announcing the next day. And then at lunchtime of the US Open, we had the top 3 busker groups, not in any order, perform for the audience at the US Open. And then they announced the order of those top 3. So everyone got to hear them perform again who wasn't there the night before, which I think people kind of like that. I think they used to do it where they had busker groups perform throughout the day on Saturday. Like after every band performed, there was a busker group on. And we, as a committee, we thought it's kind of overkill. Like give the room some space to breathe, and like let people go out and get a drink, a coffee, or, so a bottle of water, go buy a t-shirt and check out the vendors, and then come back in time, or catch up with somebody real quick. That was one of the things that was real positive feedback from the audience, was they loved that there was a little bit of time in between each band and they could go out and do things like that and not miss the next group.
Well, I think your ears need like a break so that you
can,
there's such thing as hearing too much, and then your brain just starts kind of going into overload.
Yeah.
So I think that's a great idea.
That's a funny way to say go get another beer, but that makes sense.
It's a school, Aaron. There's no beer.
Oh, my bad. Oh, sorry. I haven't been to the event because I live on the other side of the dang continent from you all.
Right.
You wouldn't know that it's a high school if you went there, really. Like if you took away like the school like stuff, you would think that it was a full like performing arts center. It is that nice.
Yeah. Ooh. It's cool. And and Saturday, it's all about the bands. You know what I mean? So like Amy was saying, if your brain's on overload and it's just too much, right? Then it takes away from the band performances if you've got like busker groups playing in between everything. So I think that was a good change. And people seem to be real responsive to that. They really like it. This year last year we had David King there doing some teaching throughout the day, which was cool because anybody that got lessons with him were like over the moon, and I knew they would be, it's just, he's so unique, right? He's one of a kind. So to get that opportunity, people were really excited.
Was he doing conducting lessons type stuff, or
just anything. Brass lessons, one-on-one. I mean, he can teach it all. He's so good. So we had him last year, and that was a real success. And, education is a big emphasis for us. Like, we want to have an educational component, and somebody there to do that. So this year we had Philip Hannevik coming from Norway, who's a good friend. And
oh, yay.
Yeah, you do, because he spent some time with Atlantic with you guys, right?
Yeah.
And he's great. Completely different personality to David. He's certainly his own guy and has his own career going, and he's very successful at what he does, in and out of the brass band world. And so he's going to be over, and the week of, he's going to spend some time with some of the bands that are going. And then on the day, we're going to start the day with Motor City Academy Band playing a few things, national anthem. We'll have some announcements. They'll play a couple other pieces. So he's going to work with them the week before, and he's going to conduct a piece with them. And then before the awards, last year we had the Clarkston High School Brass Band play, which they're going to perform again. And they just asked last night if Philip, they picked a Norwegian piece that they're going to ask Philip to conduct. So he doesn't know this yet. So if he sees this, I'll make sure I get in touch with him before he sees this, But no, he's great. And then we're going to have him do a masterclass like after lunch before we start the championship bands in the afternoon for everyone. Like, we want to provide that for everybody. Last year was you sign up and pay for lessons, So this year we're going to do something in the main hall. So it'll be with him, which would be really cool. He's excited to come over and see everybody and check out the bands and things like that. So,
and registration just closed, I think, last week or something along those lines.
Yeah, Mark Stevens is in charge of the registration stuff. Yeah.
And any idea how many bands?
They extended the registration for the busker groups. I think there's like 5 or 6 of those, which is quite good for the one evening. So we have 8 total bands, and we've got so we had the 2 sections, challenge and championship. Challenge in the morning, championship in the afternoon. We had a few more. I'm not going to name names and call anybody out. We did have a few more that like we're coming, it's on our calendar kind of thing, and for various reasons had to pull out, unfortunately. But they promised they're really going to try to make it work, going forward. Some with like personnel issues, not having all the seats filled yet, which is a shame. Another band lost a director like the end of August because he got a new job and it wouldn't allow him to do the band. So they're searching for a new director. And then there was another group, Canadian band that really wanted to go. Their director was contracted in with an orchestra performance that weekend. And so he said, I promise next year I'll keep my calendar free that weekend and we'll come down. So we're, it's the, word's getting out about, last year was really good and more bands were interested this year. It's just unfortunate we couldn't get a few more, but we're excited. It'll be a good day. And then, almost all the bands are coming back that were there last year. It's pretty much everybody but one. So that's a sign of things went well, right? It's people, the bands that were there were like, yeah, we're coming back, Like I think Tim had Dublin signed up before anybody else.
He's always on that stuff.
Yeah. And we're texting all the time about it, Weston was signed up, pretty quick as well. So it's cool, and for a band like Weston, logistically, this is good for them to come to Michigan. The Alabama thing for NABA is just too pricey for them. Mm-hmm. And we all get that, right? None of our bands are like flush with cash, so they get to do a competition over here and don't have to break their bank, kind of thing.
But now you have to deal with Robert Miller, and that's a problem all on itself.
Rob's great, man.
He's such a jerk. I say with the most love.
Comes pretty naturally to him, doesn't it? Playing. Oh, I know he works. I know he puts work in. But...
No, but he's also stupid good. When the Great Canadian Brass Band Festival, he was playing because he, Salvation Army, he was like running double duty, and he's like,
sure.
And all those bands like that, the whole area is like, you'll have people who play in certain bands, but also play in other bands. So they'll have their like Tuesday night band and a Thursday night band, and all that sort of thing, and they all were competing. I think Rob had like 6 costume changes over the course of that whole thing. It was so funny to see him walking around. You start to understand the hairline when you see him walking around like that.
Yeah, Rob won the solo award last year at the US Open.
And they're in his section, also.
Yes. Yeah, they won a caption. Yeah. He does a great job.
Anytime I can give him a hard time, I'm absolutely going to.
Of course. Right? Fellow euphonium players, right?
Oh yeah, and also it just bald euphonium players. We got to stick together. That's why there's so many of us. Get with the program, Amy. Figure it out. I know. I can show you how to shave your own head. It's a 1-step process. Get razor, shave, or 2-step, I guess.
I was about to say.
Don't listen to him, Amy.
I saw there was a few years ago. A few years ago, what was it? There was like the low brass boot camp, and it was all bald euphonium players on the poster. They're all white, bald guys. And it's like, do we have a type or what is this?
We were all just really inspired by the Six Flag commercial guy.
Yeah.
We saw him dance, and we were like, we want to entertain the world just like that person.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so for people who might not be familiar with this contest type, so you mentioned like, you won best soloist and section and stuff. So is that like you have grand champion and then you break it down into sections as well, right?
Yeah. So there's the grand champion, there's the most entertaining band. It's like the next biggest thing. And then you have caption awards for the sections. You have best soloist of the day, you have best march, best new composition, and then obviously you've got the challenge section awards too, first, second, and third, and they have a best soloist in the challenge section too. So both sections get a best soloist award, which is cool. This year we got some new sponsors. I mean, we still have Dylan Music from New Jersey. You got to give them a shout out. Those are my guys. They're a good sponsor of our band as well, but they've paid for the awards for the US Open for the second year in a row, which is really cool. So all the awards sponsored by Dylan Music. Wessex is on board as a sponsor as well. So they've sent some significant money, and they've got a full ad and all that kind of stuff. And Dennis Wick, we're working with them right now on being a sponsor for the US Open, which is really cool. We've got a couple anonymous donors and things like that. So it's been nice, it's been really good partnering up and getting these sponsors. And
do you do a convention floor type thing?
Yeah.
The show floor? Okay.
Yeah, the vendors. We do it like throughout the hallways in the school there, which is kind of cool. It's all right in the one area. So yeah, it was good. We had I can't remember last year. I'm not in charge of the vendor stuff, but 7 or 8.
You maybe. Had someone with conducting batons, and I dropped the ball because we were talking about I was going to get a new baton.
Yeah, work of art, custom batons.
Yeah, I was going to get a custom baton, and I was like, oh, I got all this stuff figured out. And then I got home and life happened. So I'm hoping he's back this year because
I can send you his info too. Yeah, they're good.
Order it ahead of time and pick it up there. That would be great.
Yeah, you could do that because I know at least one of the guys from the company will be there. Yeah. I don't know if they're doing a booth this year. I think they sold a couple batons, but like it was like the cost of getting a booth,
Mm-hmm. But I think it was I think it was I have two batons, and one I love and one I'm like, eh. But then I just keep those two batons, and it's time to get two of the same kind that I like.
Right.
It's just like, it's silly. And it's gonna have to be green because, Dublin,
There you go. That'd be cool.
So.
Yeah, you get some green worked in on the wood handle and stuff. They do a
Yeah.
really nice job. I have a bunch from them, so I work with those guys a lot. And I have a problem, Amy. I'm not like you. I don't have two batons. I have a ton of them. And it's just like I pull out a different one every time. I have a type I like, and I don't know.
So are all of yours, now we're getting into like conducting stuff, but do you have like are all your batons like the same, like, I mean, the same, like every, or do you have like different ones and you're just kind of like whatever?
I do have a type that they make, and we're going to be working on like a baton for me that I use that they'll sell, work of art. And then Philip, speaking of Philip Hanovic, he has a buddy in Norway that makes beautiful batons, and he brought me some when he came over in February. And so I tried out some of those, and they're really nice. Yeah, it's it's a thing, right? We're all gearheads in some way, I have a lot of mouthpieces, but like for soprano, I have a mouthpiece that I've used for 20 years, and it's all sort of beat up and tarnished, and I will not budge from that. B flat's a little different because I play it for sure, but I've kind of switched around a bit, and I got a custom one done from David with Venture, and I have like a bunch of wicks, and I've got my Richard Marshall Alliance mouthpiece, and I've got things like that. But I'm not one that ever shows up to a gig with more than one mouthpiece. You just go and
it's a little bit different when you're a teacher too, and when you're working with young people, because like I have a ton of mouthpieces that I personally will never play, but
yes, that's
the option for them to do, or my bandmates and all that sort of a thing.
I'm always giving mouthpieces to students. Try this out. Try that out.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds really good. Here,
I've been playing.
Take it.
I've been playing the same mouthpiece for 10 years, but I have a gaggle, like a menagerie of them in my room, and that's for the 16-year-olds that hang out in here.
Right.
Yep.
Well, you were talking about the individual soloist awards and stuff like that at the Open. I think that is such a cool idea. I've been on NABA for a while because I think that would be a great thing to bring to NABA, because I think that with the huge geography of the US and Canada, that there are people who are more advanced in like a second or third section band who could have that as kind of a goal, something interesting to kind of aim towards,
Sure. Yeah.
I think that would be a great thing to bring into NABA. Hint,
right.
You're listening.
Yeah. I do think I think people they love the caption awards.
Yeah.
They do. You guys have them at Dublin for the DFOB, in the US Open, obviously we just rattled off the list of those, but it's really cool, and there's sort of a sense of pride when a section wins, a caption, but like you said, some individual accolades are cool, like to get best soprano or best euphonium or whatever, right?
And it also it opens up your competition a little bit more to some sponsorship opportunities.
Absolutely.
A lot of times, it'll be like, because I think like Gary won a Dennis Wick mute, right? And so it was like the Dennis Wick euphonium caption or something along those lines. Like it becomes a marketable thing.
Yeah, and we're having that at the U.S. Open. Like Wessex is doing the tuba caption. That makes sense, right? And Dennis Wick's doing the cornet one. So we have some of that going on as well. But you're right. Yeah, it's good to get other companies' names out there as well, sponsoring stuff. Yeah.
I think it gives more opportunities to feel like you've gained, you've won something at the competition. You know what I mean? Like, even if you don't win this or you don't win that, you don't win the best band of the day or the most entertaining band of the day. Hey, our percussionists were rocking it and they won this. Like, let's all celebrate our percussionists.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think it's really cool to do that. Yeah.
And up and down the board too. I mean, you have players in third section bands who are rock stars, but that band is the only band in like a 600-mile radius.
And that's
so like
why I think it's great.
That's the whole reason. And also I like it as a player because it gives me more control, because like I can work my tail off, but I have no real control over how well my band does in my competition. But I can still go and win the solo competition or, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true. My biggest thing with NABA is we need a big trophy. You need a big trophy or a big plaque or something like the other major competitions. Like, we got this awesome US Open Cup now that is beautiful. And it's got all the nameplates around the side of everyone.
It looks like the Stanley Cup in starting. Like,
you got from Foden's as the first band to win the US Open all the way through every other band that's won it, and there's room for like 35 or 40 more on there. So this will be around for a long time.
You can hold it up and you can feel like you're holding something substantial.
Absolutely.
So do you order a new trophy with the engravings in there, or is it a traveling trophy?
It goes with the band. Yeah, it goes with the band. The band signs a waiver. And then, because if they damage it, they've got to replace it.
And then it comes back at the end of the year.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Or whenever the next competition is.
It'll be on stage, November 18th on the trophy table, and whoever wins this year will take it with them. And
it's always
get
interesting.
Their name inscribed and take it with them.
With traveling trophies like that, I always think it's really cool because I feel like it's like you're not winning a trophy, you're winning the trophy.
Yeah.
That's the trophy. Like, that's the way the Stanley Cup is, right? It's like,
so like the NABA banners are cool. They're nice, and we'll hang them up and all that kind of stuff. And that's really cool. But I think a trophy like that, where you got all the winners inscribed on there over the years, right? For the championship section or whatever, and then you take that with you for the year and put it on display. I mean, I remember in 2015 when I was in the New York Staff Band, we went over for a tour in England. And we, like, the second night we were there, we did a joint concert with Black Dyke. And that was after they just won the treble. And they had all the hardware on stage. We come out for a sound check, and it's like, boom, boom, boom. This is all out there. It was so cool, to see all that. And they are in such great form, at that point. And speaking of Gary Curtin, he was playing you for them. And Richard's one of my all-time favorites, Richard Marshall. So it was a really cool thing. But to see the hardware that they worked and earned, they worked so hard for it, they earned it, and they were able to put it on display that whole season. I think it's such a cool thing, So I think it's something we gotta push for in some way. I mean, someone will sponsor that.
Yeah.
That's like the US Open. Dylan Music sponsored that. They paid for that trophy, and it's a big one-time cost, but then you just gotta get it engraved for $10, $15 every year. That's not that big a deal, But the sense of pride the band has when they get to take that home with them, it's really cool, So I don't know. There's another one. Hint, hint for NABA.
So I did want to ask, because we're down here in our little Sunshine State, we're working on putting together an event where all the bands get together and all that sort of thing, and of course, we'll invite outside groups and all that sort of thing. But it's mostly for us because, like, most of the fun is happening in the Midwest. And even getting to Huntsville is still a 14-hour drive, for me and, Tampa. Because people forget, but Florida is about 14 hours long driving.
Right.
It takes, when I'm going to visit my family in Virginia, getting to Georgia is half the trip. But and I've heard about this when I was talking with the Canadian brass people. There's always some man like, we don't, especially in Salvation Army groups. We're not sure about if we want to do an event, but we're not sure about making it a competition. We feel like the competition, blah, blah, blah. So is there anything that you can say to, people or groups that are like, we're not sure about the competition side of things. We just kind of want to do a festival. Why the competition is a good thing, or even if you're participating in a competition, you don't have to view it like that way?
Sure. I mean, what they're doing in Canada, right? They have an element that's part of a competition, right? And the rest of it's a festival.
Yeah,
right? So it's like the march is judged.
It was just the march was judged, and you could input it or not, and
Sure.
then the sections, were captured.
Yeah. So that's I mean, that's a really cool setup for like bands that might not be into the whole competing thing necessarily to try it out, right? And then you're just judged on the march, and if you win, great, that's cool, you know. But it's not like the whole weekend's not about just that. I mean, for me, it's different. I obviously I grew up in the Salvation Army, and that's my church, and playing Salvation Army bands, conduct Salvation Army bands, all that kind of stuff, and but I'm a very competitive person by nature. That's just who I am, so I love that stuff, so nobody's got to sell it to me, but I think it's cool. I mean, but we see, even in the Army, we had solo competitions growing up. We had an event called Star Search in the East that, kids would practice up solos in the spring, come together and play. And you had your junior band at your core, your church, would compete. The bands would compete. The choirs would compete, that kind of thing. And it was an opportunity for the music directors and parents and things to encourage their kids to get better, and to want to be the best they can be. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, there's competitions everywhere for music and sports and all that stuff. It's just part of society. Like, so, why wouldn't banding have them, and like, I think the way we were talking about it before, like what I was saying with, our goal as a band is to always go do our very best, whatever we do, concert or competition, but any chance we get to encourage other groups and interact with the groups and really, like that's the goal. Like we know, I don't even have to say it. When US Open comes up, our band's just going to do it. They're going to go talk, interact with the other bands, and then really encourage them and say, "Hey, I've really enjoyed your program. Like it's great what you guys did with whatever X, Y, and Z." But I think if people, it's all how you view things, right? So if you go into it like we have to win, you've already lost. Because you really don't have control over winning or not. You have control over your effort and your attitude. That's what I tell my group all the time. That's all we can control. There's so many other variables you have no control over. So go have a good time, do your best, have a great attitude, and be an encourager. And I think if everybody approaches things like that, then these competitions aren't so nasty and cutthroat. Of course, you're going to be laser focused when you go out and do your bit, and you should be, and you want to be the best. But the rest of the time, enjoy hearing great music and encouraging each other, because like I said, we're in this together. It's a movement, and it's a small world, and this sort of stuff makes it even smaller, right? Like Amy's in Ohio, I'm in Michigan, Aaron's down in 600-degree weather in Florida, but like we can do this like that, Tony's somewhere in North Carolina running around or working or whatever he's doing, but we can get on a Zoom like this. It's so easy to make this North American banding thing really small now. It's a little, tight-knit group, and it should be that. So I encourage people all the time, get out and do it. Like I said to a lot of the bands that I talked to at the US Open, I said, look, if you're planning a concert this fall, there's no reason why you shouldn't be doing the US Open. It's an entertainment contest. You can pick the music, a program that suits your band, that will tell a story, that highlights your band, that entertains. And if you're doing a concert, you program whatever you're going to do for the US Open in that concert for the first half or whatever, and then come do it at the US Open. So, I'm all for it, and I encourage everybody. It's really, really good to have goals like that as a band too, to work towards each year, having the US Open in the fall, and then having like Dublin or Gateway or whatever, and then NABA, things like that. I know, there's the US Masters as well now in Kansas City. Like, so we've got these, and there's more popping up, the Canadian festival. And
yeah, I think Georgia's going to be doing theirs again this year.
Yeah. And there's stuff out west that's kicking up, I understand, they're working on things. So,
oh yeah, there's the Gateway. Right? Is that the name of it?
Well, Gateway St. Louis.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
They got that. Yeah. Yeah.
Isn't there a San Francisco one too?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think there is something.
I don't know.
So
Golden
it's
Gate,
like
Gateway. It's all
right.
If you're on that side of the Mississippi, I don't know what's happening.
Right. So it's, there are a lot more regional things popping up in North America, which is really, really cool. And there's someone or some group of people putting a lot of work in to put that event together, wherever that is. So if all you got to do is rehearse your band and come up with a few dollars to go, like, do it,
Well, Iron
it's such a great experience.
Too, right? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
That's the whole thing. I mean, my band existed for a couple years, but the biggest jump was the first Napa was real. That was the biggest hurdle, even though it was 2 pieces of music.
Right.
But you took a lot of people who had never seen a brass band live before and go and see, that. And the good thing about the way it works out is, especially being a second section, is we can see a lot of really good bands, just the way the schedules work out. But also like, it's a community. And I think we've been doing something here in North America. I think over the past like 5 or 10 years, like you had some guys who were like really into it and they kind of knew of our like celebrities in our field in the brass banding world. But I feel like now we're starting to have more celebrities in the same way that people talk about names over in the UK bands. People are talking about some names, over here, I mean, Cookie is a star in my band room. Like people think he's just this gorgeous, and he is, and, and then they just, idolize his sound, and he's just like, a star. And then of course, people like Jen and Pat and, Amy and all that sort of thing. I want to be like Amy when I grow up.
We're like how many years apart?
I'm shorter than you. It's here. It's
mental growing.
Yeah. We got it. Unless do you have anything you want to plug or anything you want anybody to know about this thing? Or, I mean, we'll of course have links and all that sort of thing and descriptions for them to check out.
No, I mean, if you're available and in the area, come to the event. It's a great day. It's $25. You can get on the US Open website and buy a ticket, or you can buy them at the door. They'll be available. We'll have T-shirts available. There'll be some good vendors there. A lot of really good programs. I know it's, no pun intended. It was entertaining. It really was. I mean, it's an entertainment contest. That's the point. But it really was cool to sit and listen to all the other groups. Obviously, a lot of fun to perform, ourselves. But it's such a variety, an entertainment contest.
Yeah, it's a big difference when it's a program.
Yeah.
As opposed to, I mean, don't get me wrong. It's great. Like, I get it. But even, 9 bands playing the same piece back to back to back to back to back to back can get a little.
Yeah, I mean, I know myself, I'm not the norm. I love that stuff too. I'll sit with a score and just listen to 18 bands play Santa Stars. Like that. I'm good with that. That's entertaining to me. But an entertainment contest, for the average listener, you don't even have to be a band nut. If you just like music.
Yeah, it's definitely it's more friendly for patrons.
It's such a good day. Yeah. And you're going to hear 8 bands, with like the high school band and all that kind of stuff, like encouraging the kids, and
they're putting out all the entertainment stuff. I feel like you're gonna see more staging. You're gonna see more, people doing interesting things, like costumes and stuff. Of course, they're not doing blast on stage or anything anymore like that.
No.
That's kind of gone out of things. But people are, they're standing up and there's moving, which you're not even going to get out of like the President's Own concert,
Sure. I mean, there's video stuff that people put together, whether it's slides or an actual, video
narrators,
narration was a big part, and having someone real charismatic deliver your narration as well helps. So like I said, it's a great venue. It's a great day. You'll get more than your money's. I mean, you're not going to hear 8 bands for $25 anyway, like this, all different programs. It's a really cool thing. And the food and everything's on the premises, so you don't have to leave. You're there. You could be there for the whole day. So the US Open website, you can go buy tickets for that. And just come out and enjoy the day. enjoy some great music.
That's great. Hey, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Same can't be said of Tony.
Right, I'm gonna call him after this and give him a hard time. Tony, is this something I said? Did I? Yeah, no, he's a good buddy too.